Hi there, welcome to this first video in a series of videos which I'm calling 7 Days of Dawnfall. So what I'm going to be looking at is a different faction every day from the Dawnfall game. So there's 6 factions in the war chest, and then there's a 7th faction which is called the Darkness, which is basically the stretch goals from the Kickstarter. I just wanted to have a kind of an overview of each different faction, a little look at the miniatures, some of the tokens and that kind of thing that come with it, and then some of the activations that go with the game. So what we'll read from the flavour text that we've got in the chapter factions sheet is just a little bit about who the chapter faction is and kind of where they've got where they are. So it'll tell you a little bit about meteor showers on a planet where there's a religion called the Order of the One which takes over and is offered a salvation to the people, leads them to prosperity until one day they face a battle with the demon faction. But definitely read through this stuff, it's really interesting. A little bit of what they call a tactical guide. It gives you some information there about some of the miniatures or some of the squads that you've got in there. A starting deck pre-constructed. So what you're going to be doing in the game is you're going to be taking this deck, you're going to be taking a number of cards from here which will relate to the miniatures you select for your squad and anything else that's in there. It's also got a little bit of other information, banner card, what the tokens are and that kind of thing. So yeah, interesting. Then we'll go through this in a minute. So what do we get other than the miniatures? So this is the chapter shrine. So each individual faction gets its own shrine. This goes on the board. In terms of other tokens, they get their faction token, victory points, which is these little ones here. If you get some focus on that. 4 fire tokens, 2 traps, and 3 blessings. So they're +1, so they're obviously some sort of perk. So those are the tokens you get with this particular faction. Now, in terms of the miniatures, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by squad. So these guys, in fact, if I go from top to bottom on what the different ones are here, there is the Angel of Death. So there's one of these. This is kind of the leader of the group, and she's a really, really lovely miniature. So you get one of those. You get 3 Holy Knights. Now they're not a single kind of set of troops. They come separately. So each individual miniature has its own set of cards. Now they're all called Holy Knights, but they're depicted on the cards by their weapon. So a hammer, a spear, or a very bent spear in this case, but I can fix that, and a pretty meaty looking sword. Now they are very similar in kind of power to the Angel of Death on their front side of cards, but completely different on the flip side, but we'll get into that in a minute. So next we've got the pilgrims. So there's a set of 4 pilgrims, and they look like this. Let's see if I can get this focused. There you go, that's a bit better. And again, this is all soft plastic, so there are some bent parts, but nothing that can't be fixed. Let's see if I can get a better view of the Angel of Death as well. If I can get that to focus. There you go. So there is some impressive details in these miniatures. Very nice indeed. And we'll have a look at one of the Holy Knights, which I think are my favourite miniatures of the group. I really like the detail on the shields. The weapons are good. I just think they're great. Like if you look at some of the chainmail that's in there as well, that's going to paint up lovely. Okay, the next we've got, second from last, is the Rangers. So you get 2 of these. And they play together. And then finally, we've got what they call the Elite Squad, which are the Purge Doctors. So it says here, if you choose your Elite Squad as part of your force, your opponent gains some additional starting crystals for the match. So this obviously gives you some more power. So you get 3 of these guys. And they wear one of like these kind of almost Plague Doctor snoods on there, but they look really cool. Obviously pyrotechnic, well, you can tell that from the information on the cards. Now in this game you've got your squads there, and they've got 2 different sides to them, and so their abilities change as you flip the card, and there's various things you need to do that. So for example, the Angel of Death is starts out very balanced. So she has got an initiative of 2, an attack of +2, defense of +2, and a movement of 3. Now when you flip her card, her initiative and attack both move up to 3. Her defense is 0, so she's defenseless when you flip the card. And then movement increases to 6. So this is very much kind of a mixture of high power and high movement. So maybe some kind of like furious attack, so can travel long distances across the board to make heavier attacks than she usually would. Now the Holy Knights are altogether better when you flip the card, so you'll be looking to flip these as quick as possible. So they start with initiative and an attack of 1, defense of 2, and a movement of 2. And when you flip, initiative moves up to 2, so that doubles, as does the attack from 1 to 2, defense from 2 to 3, and movement stays the same. So you want to flip those cards as quickly as possible. Now Pilgrims, they go kind of the other way. So they start with an initiative of 2, which goes down to 1 when you flip. Attack remains the same, which is just +1. Defense goes from +1 down to +0, or just 0. But then the movement changes from 2 to 4. The Rangers, which, you know, on balance here, they don't look very, you know, they don't look great. But, you know, until we get playing this game and working through regular playthroughs with the miniatures, we're not going to really understand the best of their abilities, because don't forget that their activation cards may hold keys to certain more important things. But if we look at that, they start with an initiative of 1, which moves down to 0, an attack of +0, which moves down to nothing, so like just completely negated, defense of +2 to +0, and a movement of 2 to 0. So they can't move, they can't attack, it appears, and they've got no defense. So yeah, we don't want to be doing much with that. Now the Elite Squad, which is the Purge Doctors, we can see that their activations change only a great deal when it comes to defense. So on both sides of the cards, they've got initiative of 1, attack of +1, but defense goes from +1 to +4, so going to be very hard to kill. And movement goes from 2 down to 1. So that's it in terms of the basic cards and what we get from there. Now this faction sheet's great. It's really helpful, especially for when you're going to be working out what your starting decks are going to be going forward. So this is the kind of pre-constructed one, which is very helpful. But as you learn more about the game, you want to do your other things, or learn how the deck gets affected. It might be It might work better against certain factions than others. So basically, these are all of the cards that you get in your deck. So, and this is how many you get of them. So if you look, it starts here, you can see in the middle of the card it says what squad can use it. Any squad, any squad, any squad. Angel of Death, Angel of Death. And then that moves along. Holy Knight, get 3 different ones. 4, 5. Pilgrims get 1, 2, 3. Rangers get 1, 2. Purge Doctors get 3 as well. But there's different numbers of cards in each one. But I think that's a good variation, to be fair. So, you know, when you think about the idea for this is that you're not going to have every squad available in every game. In fact, you only pick a certain amount, so you've always got to leave something out. So how you build that deck is going to be really important. So, for example, are you going to try and force a game where you use a lot of the Purge Doctor cards? Maybe, you know, you got the potential of 10 in your deck. Or maybe you're gonna push with more cards for certain miniatures to see how that goes. But yeah, so that is the chapter faction. I think it looks great. I'm gonna, for the first few playthroughs, I'm gonna play chapter versus demon. So the faction boxes that were available on the Kickstarter, that's where I'm gonna start with that. And yeah, I hope you like this. So tomorrow we're gonna have part 2 of 7 Days of Dawnfall up, when we'll be looking at the demon faction. So hope you enjoyed this, hope you like and subscribe, and I shall catch you on the flip flop.